Welcome back, dears. In the last session, I have explained up to the two crucial circumstances Bruno or Baba has undergone and how he was saved by the writer. And now we can deal with the 13th paragraph. Then my son and I advise my wife, and friends advise her too, to give Baba to the zoo at Mysore. He was getting too big to keep at home. After some weeks of such advice, she at last consented. Hastily, and before she could change her mind, a letter was written to the curator of the zoo. Did he want a tame bear for his collection? He replied yes. The zoo sent a cage from Mysore in a lorry and a distance of 87 miles, and Baba was packed off. So in this paragraph we can see how Baba or Bruno was handed over to a zoo. Okay, so his wife was not actually willing to let him go to the zoo, but somehow he, along with his friends and the child, made her understand the need to change him to the zoo because he is now too big to be handled at a home. So it is better to keep him in the zoo, and they asked the consent of the zoo authorities in Mysore, and they were pretty much happy to have Bruno for their zoo. We all missed him greatly, but in a sense we were relieved. My wife was inconsolable. She wept and fretted. For the first few days she could not eat a thing. Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. How was Baba? Back came the replies, well, but fretting. He refuses food too. In this paragraph we can see the extreme sadness the writer's wife was undergoing when she was separated from Baba while he was in the zoo. So both of them were extremely worried, unhappy, and not even taking food. And she used to send n number of letters to the zoo authorities, and every time she got the same reply that he is well, but he is refusing food, and he is also very much worried. After that, friends visiting Mysore were begged to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. They reported that he was well but looked very thin and sad. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. For 3 months I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. Then she said, one day I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I'll go myself by bus or in train. So I took her by car. So here we can see the writer's wife was so adamant to see Baba, and every time she used to ask the persons whom she were acquainted to visit the Mysore Zoo and just gave her the report, and she used to get the same report that he is looking okay but very thin and very sad, and he is also very much worried and not at all relaxed. So now she is that adamant that she just wanted to go to Mysore, and she insisted her husband to take her either by car, or if he is not taking, what she will do, she will go herself by a bus or a train. So the writer was now forced to take her to the zoo by his car. Friends had conjectured that the bear could not recognize her. I thought so too, but while she was yet some yards from his cage, Baba saw her and recognized her. He howled with happiness. She ran up to him, petted him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. In this paragraph, we can see the extreme happiness when they met after a long time. Extreme happiness when Bruno and the author's wife had met each other in the zoo, and some of them are having the opinion that the bear will not be able to recognize the author's wife, but surprisingly, while seeing her in a distance itself, Baba recognized her, and he was extremely happy, and even she was just petting him through the bars, and he was just in a mood of delight. For the next 3 hours, she could not leave that cage. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and whatnot. Then closing time came, and we had to leave. My wife cried bitterly. Baba cried bitterly. Even the hardened curator and the keepers felt depressed. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what I know was going to happen next. So here we can see the rider's wife is just feeding him all the things that is available within the zoo. And during the time of closing time, when they had to leave the zoo, his wife cried very bitterly, and Baba as well. And even the hardened curator and the keepers were feeling depressed about this incident. And now the writer knows what is just going to happen now. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? Hesitantly, he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and it's government property now. I cannot give any government property, but if my boss, the superintendent at Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. They followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's bungalow. A tearful pleading, Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? He was kind-hearted. He was a kind-hearted man and consented. Not only that, but he wrote to the curator telling him to lend us a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. Here we can see the extreme bond of love between the lady and the bear. The lady is just pleading the curator to let her have the bear along with her back to Bangalore, and he told her if his boss, the superintendent at Bangalore, agrees, then certainly she can have him back along with her. And then she she just went to Bangalore and visited superintendent's bungalow, and she pleaded to him, and he was a very kind-hearted man, and he agreed to have him back. And along with that, he told the curator to lend them a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. Back we went to Mysore again. Armed with the superintendent's letter, Baba was driven into a small cage and hoisted on the top of the car. The cage was tied securely, and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. Once home, a squad of coolies were engaged for special work in a compound. An island was made for Baba. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide, and was surrounded by a dirty pit or moat 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. A wooden box at once housed fowls was bought and put on the island for Baba to sleep in at night. Straw was placed inside to keep him warm, and his baby, the garland stump, along with his gun, the piece of bamboo, both of which had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo, were put back for him to play with. So here I can see the return of Baba to Bangalore. So after getting the superintendent's letter from Bangalore, again the writer and his wife has gone to Mysore, and they had brought him back to home. And at home they were a squad of coolies, and they engaged in the special work in the compound, that is just getting Baba out of the cage. And in that area they made an island for him so that he can enjoy over there, he can play over there, and he can even sleep over there. And all the things he was using before that were kept or preserved sentimentally for the sake had been given back to him, and he is now going to enjoy playing with this baby and the gun that was already mentioned in the initial part of the lesson. In a few days, the coolies hoisted the cage onto the island, and Baba was released. He was delighted, standing on his hindlings. He pointed his gun and cradled his baby. My wife spent hours sitting on the chair there while he sat on her lap. He was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. So here again we can see the intimacy between the writer's wife and the bear. Even after he became too heavy, he used to sit on the lap of the author's wife, and she used to spend hours sitting with him. The way my wife reaches the island and lives is interesting. I have tied a rope to the overhanging branch of a mango tree with a loop at its end. Putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other to bridge the 6-foot gap that constitutes the width of the surrounding pit. The journey is made the same way, but who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, and no individual characteristics. Here we can see the hurdles that is undertaken by the wife in order to go and spend time with the bear in the island. And already we know it is just like a pit. so it is not so easy to get into it. So in order to get into it, she used to reach there in a very struggling way. And for that, the writer has tied a rope to the overhanging branch of a mango tree with a loop at its end, and putting one foot on the loop, she kicks off with the other, and she used to reach the pit that is just like 6 foot gap. And the return journey is also the same, the struggling one. And even after seeing all those things, how can we say that a sloth bear is a creature that is not having any sense of affection, nor memory, or any individual characteristics? So this shows that the animal is even far better than a human being. He is able to understand the love, the affection, and he is able to care for the others, and he is able to understand what others used to think for him. So really there is a bond of love between the wife of the author and the sloth bear. I hope you understood the lesson completely, and if you have any doubt, please do clarify at the earliest. Thank you.